Most beginner artists struggle when tattooing lines, either with shaky, wobbly lines or just feeling uncomfortable and not confident, like they're doing something wrong but they don't know what it is. Well, I promise by the end of this video, that will have all gone and you're going to be tattooing great lines and, more importantly, feeling natural as you're doing it. Let's focus on today's lesson and let's really hammer and improve as line work instantly. We all know that line work is the foundation of every great artist and any good tattoo. If you do it wrong, it's the first thing, let's be honest, that you notice. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And that is why doing drills, practicing and focusing on just improving that one aspect of your work, especially at the beginning if you're new, is so important. I know this because I've been a tattoo artist for 10 plus years. I've had my own studio. I've had customers come from worldwide. But more importantly, I've taught over 100,000 people now from never holding a machine how to tattoo. So I know that it is so common, everybody struggles with the lines. So if you're struggling, don't worry, it's not uncommon. Everybody falls into the same boat. But the tips that I'm going to be giving you now has helped the majority of these people go from shaky, wobbly lines or just generally feeling unconfident, like they're not doing something right, to absolutely loving line work and it being the favourite thing to tattoo in end. So let's fix those shaky, wobbly lines right now. We don't need anything fancy to follow along with this lesson. We just need his machine and his power pack. We need some practice mats, needles. I'd use different sizes so you get practice with them all. Some inks, some ink cups, some ointment, and then make sure everything's neat and tidy where you're tattooing and everything's wrapped, your machine, your table, and that is it. We don't need anything more. It might sound like a lot, but there's a card up there. I've got a video explaining everything that you need to get your workstation set up at home so you can follow along. So first point, body positioning. We need as many points of contact as possible. What you don't want is like loose limbs everywhere. You want to be nice and tucked in. So if you're not leaning on a customer to create that contact, you would have your elbow tucked into your side. So it minimizes anything that's actually moving about. So when you're resting on your ribs and you're pulling a line, the only thing that's moving is the entire arm as one. You're not moving individual bits, and it really helps avoid any shakes and wobbles. It's kind of like when you're rock climbing. Safety, everybody says, look, always have 3 points of contact, and that's so you're not wobbling about and falling. Death may come. So the more contact you have, the better, whether it's tucked into yourself or resting on your customer or on your armrest. It doesn't matter what you're resting on, the point of contact is the main thing. So number 2, hand positioning. You want a nice, comfortable grip. Some people prefer it thick grip, some people prefer it thin. What you need to do is experiment with different thicknesses to find out what actually suits you. Personally, I always go for a thicker grip, as you can see, wrapped up in grip tape, just for that extra bit of comfort as well. So what I always recommend is make sure your fingers are as close to the needle as possible, not holding the machine right up here, no stability. Bring the hand as low as possible and ideally rest the needle on your finger. This next finger, obviously I'm left-handed, it's just the same the opposite way around. I have resting on the mat and it's almost like a guide. It helps you with the depth in and out, but it also just adds that little bit of stability as you glide down. The stretching hand, either your finger or your thumb, depending on how you're stretching, I also make contact with the hand somewhere, so it might be down at the bottom near the machine. It could be just the thumb onto the thumb, just for that extra bit of stability and security. So remember these few tips. Keep the hand nice and low, rest on the finger as close to the tip as possible. The other thing I use as a support on the mat, we can see it's just resting and gliding on the mat. And then the second hand, the stretching hand, use either a finger. So if I were pulling down, stretching the skin, I'd just lift a finger up and just make contact. And if you just give that a little practice, you can feel it's instantly more stable. A quick message to everybody that signed up to the membership program. Without all of you guys, this channel just would not be possible at all. So thank you. And we've got so many big plans for the future. So if you want to become a part of it and help the channel grow, and also get 2 exclusive follow along tattoo lessons every single week, plus a load more cool free stuff just chucked in there willy-nilly. It's just $14.99 a month, thereabouts, for literally as long or as little as you want. But I'll be honest with you, it's the thing that really helps us keep making these videos for you. So if you do want to be a part of it and help, check the link in the description. Thank you. Some people find it really hard to get their head around the angle and how it affects where the ink goes underneath the skin. So I want to just show you on the whiteboard. This has helped so many people. Like I said, I've taught over 100,000 people how to tattoo online. They all say once they've watched the diagram, it suddenly clicks and it makes a lot more sense. So let's just say that's your top layer of skin. We're wanting to deposit the ink here, under that, into second layer, and then that's the third layer that we want to avoid. So just as an example, we've got this machine and it's putting the needle into the skin. It's going to hit this first layer here, and then because it's straight down, the ink is going to come under and deposit the ink here because the machine is at that angle. So if we change that and tilt it to the side, we're going to hit here, which is where the stencil would be, thinking, right, that's where we want the ink to go. But and then instead of being directly under, it's going to carry on in the same direction and deposit the ink here. Let's just think about what we can actually see with our eyes when we're looking at a tattoo. All this disappears because the skin renews, so there's no blob on the top of the skin anymore. We're looking with our eyes at this line. So we would be looking at that, even though it hit the skin here, it's now deposited the ink slightly to the side, and we'd be looking at it as if it was put in there. So depending on the angle in which you hold the machine, you want it in line with your line, front on. From the side, that's different, but hopefully now that just clears it up a little bit. Super simple once you get around, don't overthink it. We're gonna jump on mats anyway and it'll all make sense, but hopefully that's just cleared it up for anybody that don't fully understand it. I've got videos explaining this in a lot of detail, just this topic alone, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview. And if you're still struggling, we cover it in depth in the 30 days, which is totally free. We cover everything, so make sure you go check that out. So we can see that the machine is in line with the line, the direction that I'm going. It's in upright. If I'm doing the line this way, it's in line, it's not tilted to sides, but you can see it's not upright. It's leaning back, but it's still going in the direction. So let's just have another look. Straight on, it's upright, but it's leaning back, that's fine. It's still going in the direction at line. But and then we can have sideways, not good. The other side, not good. So leaning back, absolutely fine, but going in the direction at line. Whether you're pulling, pushing, that is the ideal. As I've already said, sometimes if you're going sideways, as long as it is consistent and you never want to be right down here, because that'll just cause a bleed or a blowout. So putting everything into practice that we've covered, hand position, how I'm holding the machine, I'm using that bottom finger as a guide, I'm using this finger or thumb depending on how my hand is. I'd be pulling down on skin, just use the little finger is almost hooking there, look, that's touching there. I've got loads of support, my elbows are tucked in, all the tips that we've spoke about, and now I'm just going to do this fun little lightning design, just nice and simple. So first line I'm wanting to go from point A to point B, nice consistent movement. Easy as that. Next line, A to B. Longer one this time, so we're going to go A all the way up to B. And once you're comfortable, you don't always have to stop and just do each line individually. You can move straight from one to the next and do it more consistent. So it can go down that way and then straight away turn. Up there, I'm going to come halfway down here and then stop, taper out of the skin, and then I'm going to join into that line. Don't go right to the end, come back a little bit, gradually taper back in. Finish the line off. So we'll get down this next side done as well. Notice I'm using my hands to support. Make sure your body's in a comfortable position. You're resting on the table or tucked in. No body parts just loose, flying about everywhere all over oil. So I'm running out of ink then, so I'm going to come back, taper back in. There we have it. And just like that, implementing just a few little changes, simple design, but it can look good as long as your line work is bang on. I will say there's loads more things to consider other than just these 3 points, like machine and hand speed, which I've made a video about if you want to go check that video out as well. Needle depth, directional lines, there's loads of other things. And across my full channel, there's videos that help you on each of these topics. So have a scroll through.